The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let me just say, after video distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are powered up by Belly Up Sports. We are live on the Captain Lou Sports Network on our YouTube channel. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and be a part of all of our shows that we have on the Captain Lou Sports Network. Great interviews. We've got great ones to come. We've got some exciting news, some programming news we'll share a little bit later on in the summer, but we've got a lot on the network, and we invite you to be a part of it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a great show planned for you today. We're going to be joined by the point guard of Twitter, if you will, that being Sage Alvarez. He is our NBA point guard. We have quite a bit of news going on in the last few days in the NBA, other than the Denver Nuggets winning the World Championship last week. So we're going to talk to Sage. We had a chance to talk to him a little bit earlier this morning, and we'll bring you that interview in about 10 to 15 minutes. So we invite you to stick around for that. We're going to talk a little bit about the U.S. Open that concluded yesterday. Great finish for Wyndham Clark. He's the new defending champion of the U.S. Open, hanging on to win by a stroke over Rory McIlroy. News out of West Virginia with Bob Huggins stepping down as coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers after another embarrassing situation for him, as now they'll look to turn the page finally on Bob Huggins. And we'll take a look at the Major League Baseball standings as we are creeping ever so close to the halfway point of the regular season. So a lot to talk about this morning. Glad you could be with us. I hope you all had a great Father's Day weekend. For those of you fathers out there, I know I did. Had a chance to spend it with my son. Always great to talk with him. Always great to visit with him, watching him grow. And it's what it's all about, isn't it? And I also had a chance to talk to my dad via FaceTime, and very fortunate to still be able to do that. So it was a great weekend for me, and I hope it was for you as well. We're powered up, as always, by Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up network of podcasts. I invite you to check out our website, bellyupsports.com. The great list of podcasts, no credentials required, the 1420 Sports Pub or Sports Podcast, Sports Bar Podcast, just to name a couple of them. The Corner Booth Podcast, we've got a ton of them. And it's always, we got a great list of guys and gals doing podcasts there, as well as the stories that we have on our website, bellyupsports.com. I invite you to check those out. Show brought to you, as always, this morning by MahlerBros.com. If you want to look good and then you make you feel good, when you feel good, you'll play good on the golf course. Or if you want to look good going to that summer party, I invite you to go no further than MahlerBros.com. Check out their variety of sportswear as far as polo shirts, T-shirts, and of course we've got swag there. And when you're there, use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off of your purchase. That is MahlerBros.com. And also make sure that you visit another one of our sponsors here on the show. If you are into instant coffee, which I tell you, it tastes good. And this is the next greatest thing. It's easier to use than pods. It tastes better than gourmet. And it's so simple. 1 or 2 teaspoons or 1 or 2 spoonsful, depending on how strong you want it, hot or cold. That's JaviCoffee.com. They've got great flavors, French vanilla, decaf, salted caramel, regular. You can have it hot or cold. That's JaviCoffee.com. And again, when you visit the website, make sure you use the promo code Captain Lou and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That is javicoffee.com. And you can see it right there on the top of the screen. That is javicoffee.com. The latest partner here to the Captain Lou Extravaganza family here, and also on the Captain Lou Sports Network. So again, welcome everybody on this Monday. It's a great morning outside. I hope, as I mentioned, you had a great weekend. The festivities with the U.S. Open are in the books. 2023 U.S. Open live from the Los Angeles Country Club this past weekend. A little different setting. The first time it was there, and it had its ups and downs. As usual, it's a difficult test for the golfers. Didn't start out so much that way, with the opening day getting a couple of 62s. Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele both shooting 62s to start out 8 under par. And, you had the likes of Dustin Johnson hanging around. Scotty Scheffler. What can you say about Scheffler? I'll tell you what. He again, he's right there all the time. And he proved to be a good bet if you took him in the top 20. He ended up, I believe, third or fourth, right there with Ricky Fowler. Ricky couldn't quite maintain it over 4 days. Tried to go wire to wire. After the second day, he was right there with Wyndham Clark. And Wyndham Clark held off Rory McIlroy on the final day. But, it was fun. The firepower, the star power was there. Again, Rory McIlroy, he played great. I give Rory McIlroy all the credit in the world. He's got a lot on his plate. Now he's taken a lot of it on himself. And some of the criticism his way may be a little justified, but you know what? He played strong throughout the weekend. And, they say golf, like any other sport, is a game of inches. And with Rory, he just could not get that crucial putt to go his way. And I thought maybe getting the break he got, getting that free drop in the rough, or in the, whatever you call it, I'll call it the long hair. When his ball was embedded there on 14, he bogeyed the hole. So he was down 3 strokes when Wyndham Clark birdied that hole. And I thought, well, maybe it was over. But then a couple of bogeys for Clark. And I thought, boy, McIlroy still might get an opportunity. He made a couple of big saves, but just could not get the putt to drop. I think he was 16 out of 18 in greens and regulation. Rory McIlroy played good. He was right there all weekend again, but still trying to get back in the winner's circle for the major. And what can you say about Wyndham Clark? He just won his first PGA Tour event a couple of weeks ago with the Byron Nelson, and he looks strong. And I liked what his mentality was for the tournament. He played arrogant, played kind of cocky, and that's how you got to attack these U.S. Opens. You got to play smart, but you got to play cocky. And I thought he did. He played the right or the left to right, and his short game was amazing, and it saved him. He put himself in jail a couple of times, was able to rebound with some great chips. Now, again, I know he had the bogeys on 15 and 16, but was able to get that chip on 17 when it looked like he might be looking at a potential third bogey and maybe falling into a tie with Rory McIlroy at 9 under. But he was able to get up and down. He did it a couple of times earlier in that back 9, and he looked strong. And then on 18, he got the approach shot to within 60 feet, and then the USGA let all the fans wrap around the green on 18. There was probably it looked like about 10,000 people circled around that green. And you talk about the epitome of pressure, a 60-foot putt. He had the 2 putt to win, and he put it 59 feet 2 inches on that putt, within about 8 to 10 inches away. And just nerves of steel. And the story for him, losing his mom to breast cancer a while back, and she was there with him in spirit, and just a storybook ending for Wyndham Clark. It was a great finish to the round. a little, I don't know, little miffed about the coverage from NBC, and I'll tell you why. And I thought Wyndham Clark had a great point Saturday after the round. Why they make these guys tee off at, what was it, 4 o'clock West Coast time, which was almost 7 o'clock Eastern time before they teed off Saturday. And they ran out of daylight. They played the last couple of holes pretty much in darkness. And it could have cost Clark. And that's not fair. I mean, 10 o'clock, a finishing time was perfect. And that was almost starting to get a little bit dicey. What would have happened if they would have had a playoff? It would have been in the dark. Now, I know these courses in these tournaments are not, you're not relying on or not thinking you're going to have a playoff. But Saturday was a little ridiculous, having them play up until 11 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock out on the West Coast in the shadows of darkness. Hopefully they learn I understand they're going back there in 2039, but it just had a weird feeling about the whole setup in general of that tournament. There were fans there, but it just didn't seem that intimate. Now, I know you don't want them there like the Waste Management Open where they're throwing stuff, you get a hole in one, I get all that, but it just didn't, it just had a weird feel. And I just, I thought the coverage was lackluster, and somebody's got to get Paul Azinger under control a little bit. He had that Johnny Miller feel to him. And, Johnny Miller, great golfer, great commentator, smart. He obviously knows, he's forgotten 100 times more about golf than I'll ever know. But the arrogance level on it, and Azinger, guessing wrong on some of those shots, especially Wyndham Clark. He was banging on him for a couple of holes there on 9 and 10, and Clark pretty much shut him up. And, I just, let the guys play. If a guy makes a mistake on a hole or whatever on a shot, I get it. But wow, it just wouldn't let it go. And it was a turnoff to me. It's like, maybe do a little more homework on the course. Now, I understand that's the first tournament that they've held there, so it may be a learning curve for them too, but be a little more prepared for it. He had an opportunity to walk the course or whatever. I thought the coverage and the effort was a little lackluster, and I hope maybe NBC learns from it. We'll wait and see. Obviously, they're not going to be back to that course now till 2039. Seems like a long ways away, 16 years from now. But going back to the course, it's funny it looks deceiving. You see these wide fairways, but these approach shots and these, some of the lengths of the holes. Yeah, it proved in the end, it proved to be a challenge. Everybody was worried we were going to get Buick Open type scores. I'll be the first to admit. We had Brent Redlinsky on Friday talking about it on our show, and we made the comment it looked more like the Buick Open that they used to have at Warwick Hills here in Michigan on Friday. But boy, once the sun came out, the greens were difficult, the pin placements were there. These approach shots, you had to hit it in the right part of the fairway. If you didn't, it really created a challenge. And that fescue, you got into some of that fescue, boy, it was tough. And wow, it all came down to the short game again, and Wyndham Clark had it. And unfortunately for Rory McIlroy, if you're a fan of his, he didn't have. He just could not drain the putt when he needed it. He's going to be there. He's just chomping at the bit to get that, that elusive major. And just like Ricky Fowler, a lot of people cheering for him. It would have been a nice story for him to do it. He just couldn't put it all together for 4 days. And, he ended up in the top 5 again. But it was riveting on Sunday night. It was a good way to end Father's Day weekend. If you're a golf fan, it was must see. And again, congratulations to Wyndham Clark winning the U.S. Open, his first major, and just the emotion and everything. It just was so genuine. That's what's good about the game. And it was a great way to take some of the storyline away from this so-called merger that's going to be happening. We're going to hear about it more in the golf world, but this was a great deterrent from that. The U.S. Open probably couldn't come at a better time as far as that goes, as it was just a fun tournament. And congratulations to Wyndham Clark, as he is indeed the winner of the 2023 U.S. Open. Again, welcome to the Captain Lou Extravaganza, everybody, here on this Monday, July the 19th. Hope you had a great weekend, and we're going to talk a little NBA, as we'll welcome in our guest here shortly. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about MahlerBros.com. If you're like me, you get out on the golf course and, you're kind of putzing along. Your round's not going the greatest, or it might be going good, but you're starting to get a little overheated, and it starts to affect you a little bit upstairs. Maybe have a couple of bad shots, and then, the last thing you want to do is think about how hot you are on the golf course. Well, I've got a solution for that. MahlerBros.com has got a great selection of polo shirts and T-shirts, sleek designs, form-fitting, lightweight. It'll make you feel good on the golf course. And you know what they say? We always like to say, if you feel good, if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. And that's the bottom line. Anything that'll help you maybe take a couple of strokes off your game. Now, it's not going to make you a scratch golfer or make you win that elusive skin, but it'll give you the confidence that might help you, might boost you over the edge to get that game, get that score. It'll help you get that confidence to maybe break 80 or whatever. Go to MahlerBros.com and check out the selection. They've got the loud design if you want to be seen 5 holes down the way, or the more conservative look like what I like to wear. And not only do they have polos, but they've got the T-shirts like we mentioned. Also, they've got other kinds of swag, mugs and cups, and you name it. They've got a lot. That's MahlerBros.com. And while you're there, like it says on the bottom of the screen, use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off of your purchase. That is MahlerBros.com. And again, use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off your purchase. And you'll look good on the golf course, and you'll feel good as well. And who knows, you might play a little bit better. That's MahlerBros.com. And welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on this Monday. And again, I hope everybody had a great weekend. I did. And it's continuing here on this Monday, as I am pleased and honored to bring in my point guard of Twitter. He's going to be the point guard of our NBA coverage here on the Extravaganza, Sage Alvarez. Sage, hey, first of all, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing amazing this morning. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Had a great weekend with my son, and he's a big NBA fan, so he got me fired up about it. And it's funny is we got a lot to talk about. The off season is here, but man, oh man, they started with a big trade already, huh?
Bradley Beal already to the Suns. I love the aggressive move by Phoenix right now. I mean, and we're talking about. I used to go to Sun games when they were $5 with Goran Dragic.
Wow, yeah, they. My first thought, and I'm listening to Talking Heads all this morning, and I don't think, I love the move by Phoenix. I will never begrudge a team for going to win now. I'm tired of the rebuild mode, if you will, or the mindset. And I don't think Phoenix gave up a whole lot for him, to be honest with you.
The only thing that they gave up was essentially years from now. And I don't think you should worry about that if you're the Phoenix Suns. Right now, you got to capitalize. You have Kevin Durant right now at the end of his prime. So you got to take advantage of these next 2 years. And I think that's what – I think they're essentially saying, let's worry about this problems 3 years from now, and let's take advantage of the moment. Because just like Toronto Raptors did, when they took advantage of that moment, went all in, even though technically, they had a lot of luck on their side. This team doesn't need as much luck. They are actually well more prepared than that Raptors team was for that luck to win a championship, because they were only 2 games away from beating the Nuggets. They went to Game 6.
I think the one thing I worry about a little bit, maybe from Phoenix's standpoint, I know Chris Paul is a stand-up guy. He seems like a good locker room dude from what I've heard. But I honestly thought if Phoenix was going to make a trade of this magnitude, they may have to give up Ayton. Now, he's kind of he's an enigma, kind of a little Ben Simmons-ish, if you will. But I can't argue with it. I do like the trade.
It was funny because my first initial thought was Ayton was gone. Before I saw any of the players, I thought Ayton was gone. So essentially, when I was talking to someone yesterday, I was like, how lucky are the Suns to have all these problems with Ayton? Because all those problems with Ayton will allow you to keep him through even through any trade, even the Kevin Durant talks. We
Yeah.
thought he would have been gone in that trade, and he stayed somehow, and no team has pursued him in his contract. The Suns came out big winners because of that, because no one wanted Ayton, but I think he could develop and still turn into. I mean, he's still posting good stats. I just think he's a lot hated in the media, just because with him and Coach Monty's beef, and I think that's where you bring in a new coach. They just did have like, hey, I don't care what happened in the past. I'm a new guy. I'm around here. Let's start a relationship fresh. And I think that's what happens to some of these players. They need a fresh start and get that, that bond with the new coaching staff.
I agree. That's a great point. And the other nice thing with Ayton is he's not going to be relied upon to be the big dude. I mean, he could be potentially the fourth option on that team. You've got Booker, you've got obviously Durant, now Beal. My only worry from Phoenix, from their standpoint, maybe is they're not going to have a lot of room underneath the cap now. If they're not cap strapped, they're going to be. And do you think depth might be a little bit of an issue for them?
Well, they're gonna have the championship team syndrome, which is a lot of players taking a lot of discounts to come to Phoenix, and that has not happened in Phoenix. I don't think in maybe the past decade you'd have to probably go to the Suns Steve Nash days to kind of even look into players taking discounts.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what's going to happen. Players are going to come and take discounts to go play with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Those are two very quality star pieces, and to when I hear people say that those two couldn't win a championship, I just disagree with that completely.
I don't understand that mindset either. They've only played not even a half a season together, and so they've got the pieces are in place. Now, if you're Chris Paul, I honestly don't see him as a Wizard past maybe Friday. With the draft coming up Thursday night, I believe, I could see him being dealt to possibly an LA team. Not sure what. Would you like to see him teaming up with LeBron and AD to possibly make one more run for James?
The only way I see it is if it's a buyout. I don't think, because we gave up a lot of pieces at the trade deadline. I mean, we gave up a lot of second round picks to get Royce. So I just think that if we can get him on not a veteran minimum, but at least like a mid level exception, because the Lakers are essentially going to be having a really rough off season. I don't think it's going to be as great as many Lakers hopeful fans or want it to be. One, you got to sign Austin Reeves. And I guarantee that a team will come in and say, you know what? This guy's worth more money this guy is worth this money. And we're going to give him the max. And I think the max right now is 4 years, $105 million. So the Lakers can match that. But if you match that, your offseason now is extremely limited on what you're able to do for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think that they should sign him. I do think he's worth every penny of that contract. And it would actually be a good contract because he's going to get better than that contract. Most players, when you give them these contracts, they get worse, it feels like, by the end of it. Austin Reeves is going to get better by the end of his contract. So this is a really healthy contract for Lakers to get. I wouldn't pass this up because they want to get Kyrie Irving. I do love the Kyrie Irving move for the Lakers this year. Okay. But Austin Reeves is a future. Yeah. So you gotta I know there's a lot of upside, but Austin Reeves is looking like he still hasn't reached his peak. So I don't necessarily want them to go all in for Kyrie just because I'm a Laker fan. I won't be a Laker fan past when LeBron retires as a Laker or when he moves on and goes to a different team if he does that route to go play with the Sun. At the same time, I want to watch good basketball for the time being after LeBron era, and Austin Reeves represents that to me.
What about, so you're willing to take on Kyrie on a short-term deal then if you're a Lakers fan?
No, because when you sign the Austin Reeves deal, you have no money left over to sign Kyrie. Okay. So there's no way like cap-wise to make it happen. So I agree with people. They're like, let's give one more home run shot with LeBron and AD. And I'm like, that's fine. But the Laker organization is not going to be very healthy. And it might end up being one of those things where when you saw the Lakers fall when Magic left the Lakers, or that era when they pretty much, they got beat by the Bulls, and you're just like, okay, we know the Lakers are going to be done. We're approaching that gap. So
Yeah.
you have these next 2 years with LeBron. I really think you have a 2-year window. LeBron is giving you everything he has. I just don't know if Kyrie's that guy that puts us over the top, because not because that first three isn't solid. AD isn't healthy. LeBron is going to get older. He might even have more health problems coming in the next 2 years. Is Kyrie going to be willing to carry the load? And are players going to be willing to take good contract deals to come play with Kyrie? Now, they would have done it for LeBron, but
Right.
are they going to do it for Kyrie when he's there? I mean, there's been a lot of issues with him in Brooklyn. I mean, we all witnessed that. So there could be a stigma. I mean, the Mavericks situation is completely different. I mean, their organization didn't even want them to make the playoffs. Yeah. That was really strange, and I really hate it as a pure basketball fan, and I understand it from an organizational to keep the first round pick, but it was terrible for basketball to see a team that was willing to just do anything they could to make sure the team didn't get in the play-in. And that's what we saw as basketball fans.
Well, and here's my thing with Kyrie. I don't want to dwell too much time on him, because to me, I know that he got a championship one, but it's just the amount of teams that he's been to, and he reminds me a lot of James Harden, to a certain extent, Ben Simmons. I mean, these teams, what they think that they can make a reclamation project out of them. And, the one that also comes to mind to me is Jimmy Butler. I mean, he's Jimmy Buckets, playoff Jimmy in Miami, but look what he did to Chicago. Look what he did to Minnesota, and to a certain extent, Philadelphia. And I don't know. But I gotta go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, when you bring up the Timberwolves situation, it looks like Jimmy was right on that one. As much as he's like, it was looked upon crazy at the time. I mean, he was taking the third string on his back, and beating the first string in practice, and we all looked at him like, why is he like this? And it all points to Cat. And what has Cat done since then? I mean, he was obviously got hurt, and they have a extremely disappointing playoff run. I mean, not even really putting up a fight in the first round, and that, look at the Timberwolves. They went all in. They went 5 first-round picks to get Rudy Gobert, because they said that they were one player away. Now, most of us were looking like, are they gonna start selling all pieces to make up for this crucial mistake that the Minnesota Timberwolves did? Or are they gonna, hope that it was just a growing spurt and they come back this year and get it done? I don't know from the Timberwolves, but Jimmy Butler has been to 2 finals in the past 3 years. And I know that, the Bulls and the Timberwolves, it didn't look good for Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy Butler sure has made Miami look amazing, and made him look good compared to the other 2 organizations.
Well, that's why I got you on here. You set me straight on Minnesota. I like it. All right. Now, you know how it is right now with the hot takes in our society with the media. I got to ask you this. You had to have seen what Kendrick Perkins said. Could you see James Harden in a Lakers uniform?
So when Kendrick Perkins saying that James Harden, did he say what type of the trade scenario that it would get him? That's why I'm asking Kendrick. Like, Kendrick, my guy, are we gonna give him 3rd round picks? Are we gonna give him the buy one get one 10-piece McDonald's coupon? On the app. Like, what are the Lakers going to give that would make a serious offer for one of the top players in the league? And he's a free agent right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, no, the Lakers do not need James Harden. That's it blows. And that's what, same thing with Kyrie. The Lakers, they don't need James Harden. They don't need Kyrie. What the Lakers need is a team.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what the Lakers need more importantly than ever. And I think the Nuggets really expose that. And they will expose that for the next 2 years before the CBA starts breaking down every team drastically, I believe. I believe we're about to see a huge shift in the NBA the next 2 years. And there's going to be the teams that win or the teams that are patient.
Yes, 100%. And I think the super team model worked for a while. But the last 5 years it has shown. I mean, Golden State, okay, the Lakers in the bubble, but the last couple of years, yeah, I agree with you.
And you don't, and the Golden State Warriors don't have a CBA era waiting for them to capitalize. So this CBA isn't going to give you a max contract that's put on top of the most win in the NBA season team. I mean, it's not happening this time. Golden State Warriors.
Last free agent question I got for you is, I went on one of your Twitter Spaces shows, and the conversation you guys had about Dame Lillard was great. Now, it looks like, I know Miami's looking to maybe trade for him, and I'm glad Bradley Beal didn't go there because, like you guys were saying, the best that Portland, in my mind right now, would be, even if they were to get a big name, would be like a 5th seed in the West. And I don't think Dame Lillard wants to start or do anything to mortgage for a 5th seed. Do you honestly see him getting traded to a team like Miami?
I can see Miami.
Yeah,
I think that Miami might give them the best assets.
Yes.
At the end of the day, Portland is going to lose this deal. Yeah. Because you're going to lose Damian Lillard. Yeah. And no one's going to give you over the amount for Damian Lillard. What you're going to get is the most. Like, are you going to get as much as you can? And here's the other thing. What teams really have assets that would really give the Portland Trailblazers their rebuild? Yeah. They don't want all these medium-sized players and, great role players and maybe guys that can start. But is that going to help them rebuild? Because they're trying to lose. If the Portland Trailblazers give up Damian Lillard, why would you not want the first round pick next year? Like, why would you want to be essentially you're fighting for a play-in again? And the OKC Thunder, I know that they have all these picks. They have so much. I mean, you can see them going after a superstar. I don't know about Damian Lillard, but at the end of the day, Damian Lillard has to go to Miami because Miami represents the best assets that they can get right now. And I'm really sad for the Trailblazers because I don't think that their fans are gonna lose either way because they're losing their star. Losing a guy that was, Dame time. I mean, I just saw him at a China basketball camp, and they had the circle in the court, the exact place where he hit the 3-pointer on Paul George to win the playoff game, and I thought that was pretty awesome. And it's hard to get those other players in Portland, so I'm really sad for their community to lose a guy like that. But I do believe Miami is the right way to go for them.
We're joined here on the Extravaganza by the point guard of Twitter, and he's our point guard for NBA Talk. That's Sage Alvarez. Sage, did the NBA get it right with Ja Morant? I feel bad for the guy to a certain extent. I know he's young. He said supposedly all the right things when he got his first suspension, but my goodness, 25 games, was it enough? Was it too much? What do you think?
I honestly, when I first saw the news, I thought this was a negotiated penalty for Ja because you have to get the player association in on this. Yeah. And I know that I think when it came out, the players organization, they're like, "Oh, this is unfair and there's too many games," and I'm like, "You guys negotiated this deal. Let's not kid ourselves. There's no way that you two weren't in. I could have saw 50, but there were." I guarantee that the conversation was like, we are going to fight you back on the 50, really tough. And if you do that, it's you might end up with Ja with 0 games. Because there's nothing that Ja really breaks in the rules. Like Gilbert Arenas said on his podcast, the NBA is going to come out mobster style if you don't take this 25 games. If you fight it really tough, they're going to come after you. They're going to come after you and your money. That's what David Stern did, and it's the same thing in the Silver era. They're just very diplomatic. They're very social media savvy. These are geniuses. These are guys that literally wake up and breathe this stuff. They've been through a ton of situations that prepared them for a guy like Ja. But I think what's most important at the end of the day is that he gets the help that he needs, and maybe just better friends. Because honestly, it just seems like he's around just the wrong people, and here's the other thing I like that someone brought up is that some people looked at him as a role model. he is now going to be looked upon as an even bigger role model, because there's no bigger role model than someone who really gets in trouble, because that represents a lot of us. A lot of us, especially we feel like we've done a lot of dumb things when we were younger, and when people look at Jaw, they would look at a guy that just got caught, and they're like, I support that guy. And now, like, when his shoes came out, sold out within 30 minutes. The market is telling you that the community feels that with him. So there's a lot of upside in getting Jaw on the right track, because he has such a great career, and his marketability, even with him being in such a small market right now, is this marketable and this known.
Well, and the head of the Players Association has to come out and say she doesn't like it. I mean, that's like, in my real job, I'm a union steward, so we can't all you got to make that look where you don't agree with it. And I like your point about it being negotiated. I bet it was, and I personally think it's about right. You look at Miles Bridges from Charlotte; he got 30 games for domestic violence, and this you got to be smart making these. You're wielding a gun, and that's not smart, but he didn't hurt anybody, fortunately. And if you're going to give him more than you give a guy that beat the crap out of his girlfriend or wife or whatever, I think it was about right. And to your point, I think I think getting hit in the pocketbook, I think it hurts more than anything. And I think he's young enough where he can turn his life around. And he could benefit from that in the long run, big time.
Not many of us can suffer $150 million in losses and still be up top, and that's what John Moran is, and that's where it's disappointing. Like, that was your money, bro. Your friends cost you, your All NBA team, which cost you a trigger in your contract that lost you so much more money in your next extension, and then you're still in a car with a toy gun, quote unquote toy gun.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, and you got friends that they have their phones on their. Why would your friends even touch their phones in your car? After it just blows on, like, bro, you are a multi-millionaire, one of the top NBA players in the world, and you can't control your circle. But then again, people go, people are going through it, and his circle just absolutely terrible, and they represent exactly who you should not be hanging around with in the NBA.
Well, it's funny, is my wife and I were having this discussion yesterday, and we brought up Bob Huggins from West Virginia. I said, people are afraid to tell these guys or gals to stop doing this stuff, because they're afraid if they tell them that, they're not going to be in that circle anymore. They're not going to get the fruits that go with being in that circle. And I think, it's such a catch-22 situation there with that,
100%. And
it's too bad. But
it is too bad.
Well, hey, let's end it here today on a fun note. We got the draft coming up Thursday. It's always a fresh start for a lot of teams. Wembanyama going, I mean, it's pretty much a done deal, I would imagine, unless somebody hits Popovich in the head before Thursday. I mean, he's obviously the number one. Do you see any big draft day trades? First of all, coming up with some of these top picks?
We're gonna. I would love to see Portland. I'd love to see them still make a move. And I know that they're still obviously they're probably gonna try to trade Damian Lillard, but I would look into seeing what possibilities you can get with that pick, and see what you can stretch that into. Necessarily, to me, if Brandon Miller is available, I would love that pick for them. But if not, I would love to see what assets you could pick with Damian Lillard. Like, see what you could really stretch out with this, and see what you could really do. Because if you set yourself up, like, the only reason why I'm saying even think about trading this overall pick is not necessarily to get this pick next year, but like maybe try to really sabotage your team next year to be really, really bad. Like that's what Portland messed up, because they should have done this last season with Victor available as the number one overall pick, one of the biggest prospects in over 2 decades. And you kept Damian Lillard in this awkward position to only do it 1 year later when there's like not as much at stake. Mm-hmm. So if anything, I really, if not, I would really try to really just break down this team and really try to get yourself some top quality draft picks for the years to come and really stretch it out if you can.
Last question for you. I got to ask you something about my Detroit Pistons. Were you surprised Monty Williams got the job in Detroit? And
Not surprised at all. I love
Okay.
Monty, and I love
Yeah.
this Detroit team. I love that they robbed the Golden State Warriors for James Wiseman. I've been on air criticizing the gold.
Yeah.
I criticize Steve Kerr because it really comes down to that. Steve Kerr, for all the credit he has with the championships, a blemish on his record that he really didn't develop players, and he had the perfect player to develop, and he got rid of them. And to me, I didn't think that the trade was justified. I thought it was a terrible trade. And it represents why the Golden State Warriors are going to have to go into even faster rebuild mode. I completely just cannot stand that they traded James Wiseman, who is, he's been hurt. He's trying to develop, guys like that remind me of that. I mean, and they still have the talent, Joel Embiid. And I'm not saying he's not gonna come in and Joel Embiid, but give this guy a chance to develop first. Like big men don't develop like they don't they don't do it like that. You're not walking in with Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq even. Like give this guy a chance to come in and really build up.
All right, he's Sage Alvarez. He is the point guard of Twitter. You have to follow this guy, and give us your Twitter handle and tell us how we can follow you and become a lot wiser.
Of course, and I'm really appreciative to be on the show today. I'm a big fan. You can find me at Twitter at SageDup, SAGED_UP. We like to have a lot of fun on there. We like to ask a lot of questions, and we have a great time on. We have a great community, and you can also catch me on the 5150 Sports Show with Mr. Barry Long, not the first, not the third, and Burke Myers. And the cool thing about Burke is his mom is actually, one of the Ann Myers, who is one of the greatest women basketball players of all time, and also is one of I think the only woman to actually have an NBA tryout with the Indiana Pacers.
That's right.
So we have great insight on our show, and we're gonna have a lot of cool guests in our community. We allow everyone to come on and speak their sports opinion, and we get a little crazy because it's 5150, and we like to have fun.
All right. Well, hey, Sage, thanks for taking time out this morning, getting up early to be on. And we look forward to talking to you real soon.
Thank you, my guy. Appreciate you.
You bet. All right. Again, thanks to Sage Alvarez for coming on the show here this morning and talking a little NBA with us as things are getting ready now for the draft. As we mentioned, that's coming up next. That'll be Thursday, I believe, the NBA draft. 2 rounds of the draft. And there's some big names. Of course, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the one to get things going for San Antonio with the opening pick of the draft this Thursday. But the first big trade, of course, was, again, Bradley Beal going to the Phoenix Suns. They traded Chris Paul and another player and a bunch of draft picks, second-round picks. And so I love what Phoenix did, and I'm always a big fan of someone going for it in the moment, going all in, if you will, to try to win right now. You can mortgage for the future, but you just never know in pro sports what the future is going to bring. These first-round draft picks, second-round draft picks, they don't always work. And that's why I kind of like the mentality of going for it now. And Matt Ishbia is leading the way, the new owner of the Phoenix Suns. And I like his style so far. Still not 100% sold on him letting go of Monty Williams, but I like it because now he's the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. So maybe it gives our Piston team a little bit of hope coming up here in the future. So thanks to Sage Alvarez for coming on the show, talking NBA with us. Very informative, and I hope you enjoyed it. If there was something you missed in it, you can go back and watch it on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on our YouTube channel on the Captain Lou Sports Network. That and any of the other interviews that you may have missed. We will also be downloading it podcast form this afternoon on Spotify and Apple. Anywhere you catch your podcast, you can get this edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We got a couple of things to talk about here to wrap up the show, but first we want to talk to you about Javi Coffee. They are the latest member of the Captain Lou Extravaganza family. If you like instant coffee, and it's a great way to go. A lot easier than using the pods. It's a lot cleaner. It tastes better than gourmet. 1 or 2 teaspoons, depending on how much you want to put in it, hot or cold. That's Javi Coffee. They've got a bunch of different flavors. You can get salted caramel. You can get French vanilla, decaf, you name it. Javi Coffee is the way to go for your instant coffee. And when you go on the website, javicoffee.com, make sure you use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off your purchase, right? As it says on the top of the screen, that's javicoffee.com. And again, you can get instant coffee at its finest, and all different flavors, as we mentioned: salted caramel, French vanilla, regular, decaf, hot or cold. That's Javi Coffee, and use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase at javicoffee.com. Well, Major League Baseball is getting close to the halfway point in the regular season already, coming towards the latter half of June. 4th of July is the second measuring stick, if you will, of the season. We always like to take a quick look at the standings on towards the end of the show. And right now, I think the big surprise in Major League Baseball has to be the Arizona Diamondbacks opening up a 3.5 game lead over now the San Francisco Giants, as they have supplanted, at least temporarily, the Los Angeles Dodgers in second place in the National League West, sweeping the Dodgers. The Giants have won 7 straight. So I guess you could put them right up there with the Arizona Diamondbacks as the 2 big surprises in Major League Baseball, at least in the National League. The Diamondbacks 14 games over 500, 43-29. The Giants right there, 39-32. I know Boz Eschavari, a guest of our show here in the past, big Giants fan. He's got to be loving it. 8-2 in their last 10. So they're right up there, 3.5 games out. And on the disappointing side, again, the enigma that is the San Diego Padres. I know there's a lot of time left. 35-36, 7.5 back in the National League West. Kind of crazy there. Milwaukee back on top. They're a half game ahead of the Cincinnati Reds. Here come the Reds. They've won 8 straight. They're only a game or a half a game out, 37-35. The Brewers swept the Pirates over the weekend. The Pirates have lost 6 straight. They're now 2.5 games out. The Cubbies are only 4 back. And, the St. Louis Cardinals, they're not dead yet. They always find a way to get back in it, but they're not playing real well now. They're 8.5 out in last place. And in the National League East, the Braves, they're up 5 now on the Marlins. They're 20 games over 500. The Marlins 10 games over 500, playing fantastic baseball. They've won 4 straight. The Phillies are now 4 games over 500 after that lackluster start. Here they come. And again, I know that the Burn with Mitch Bernstein, a friend of the show, he's a big Phillies guy. They're right up there now, just 8 games out. And the Mets, what can you say about the Mets? They're now 5 games under 500, 12.5 back of the Atlanta Braves. So the Phillies and the Marlins making a charge. The Braves right there too. Braves and Phillies, 6-game winning streak. The Marlins, a 4-game winning streak, only 5 out. And in the American League, the Rays keep her going, 51-24, best record in all of Major League Baseball. 5 games up on the Baltimore Orioles. They're hanging in there. They've won 7 out of their last 10, 5 out. The Yankees trying to hold pace, 10.5 back. They've lost 4 in a row. The Blue Jays hot on their heels, just a half game behind them. And then the Red Sox, 2 games over 500, but in last place. They would be a game up on the Twins in first place in the Central. They lost 3 of 4 to the Tigers, who were 1-11 coming into this series in June. Now they've won 3 out of 4. The Tigers are 5 games out, 10 games under 500. The Guardians are 5 games under 500, 2.5 back of the Twins. Obviously, the most pathetic of all 6 divisions. Any team in that division has a chance, except maybe for the Kansas City Royals, who now are kind of wavering with the Oakland A's as the worst team in Major League Baseball. The Rangers are leading the West. They've got a 4.5 game lead over the Angels, who are a game up on the Astros. We'll see if the Angels can keep it going with Shohei Ohtani. We talked at length about them last Friday with Brent Redlinsky of the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Well, I invite you to check that on our YouTube channel as well on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. The Mariners hovering around 500. A lot of folks thought they might make a move into wild card potential or even contend for that division this year. They're still in the hunt, 8.5 back of the division, still in the hunt for a wild card, still a ways back. And we mentioned the Oakland A's at 19-55, 26.5 games out of first. And, they're making more news off the field, looking to make the move to Vegas in a few years. But the big question with Oakland is, what are they going to do next year? Are they going to play in Oakland? Are they going to play at the AAA ballpark in Vegas while they build a stadium? Who knows? It's a mess in Oakland. We talked about it again at length last Friday. It's sad if you're an Oakland A's fan. I know they've had some great teams over the years, a couple of little mini dynasties in the 70s and then around the end of the 1980s, early 1990s. And they've been viable, except for the last couple of years, winning with Moneyball, if you will. But right now, no. So, well, hey, we're going to kind of wrap things up here. We just want to kind of touch on other news. And, of course, Bob Huggins out at West Virginia over the weekend. He was arrested on DUI on Friday. I think it's like his second or third one over his coaching career. And he resigned Saturday night as the head coach of West Virginia. The guy is he's had a lot of chances. He's been a great coach over his career. I think the 5th winningest coach in the history of college basketball. He's won a lot of games, but he's also had a lot of chances. And when you're, I think about it in one term, you may want to, I don't know if narcissistic is the right word. He's always had numerous chances with brushes off the court. He was going to be suspended for the first 3 games of this season as it was for kind of, the homophobic slur he made on radio earlier this year. Some could say he's been enabled. And, he's taken advantage of his status as a coach, in college sports. He's a big name coach. He's had a lot of chances. Sooner or later, it was going to catch up to him. I'm just thankful that nothing bad happened. He could have killed somebody drinking and driving. We all make mistakes. I get it. We all deserve second chances. But this guy's been playing with fire a lot lately. This isn't his first DUI. Now, as it goes with big name college coaches, I'm sure he'll take some time away, a few months only. He'll probably end up being a commentator on the 4-letter network or on CBS or whatever. He'll come out of this smelling like a rose. And does he deserve another chance? That's not for me to decide. But he's out as the head coach of West Virginia. And, it's time for fresh blood there. Again, there's a penance to be paid for drunken driving. And he's lucky, like I said, that he didn't hurt anybody, kill anybody, hurt himself. But he's out at West Virginia. And, the rumor's already flying. Maybe John Beeline going back there. Wouldn't that be something? But Bob Huggins out at West Virginia. Well, that's going to do it here for the show this morning. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's been a great show. We want to thank Sage Alvarez for joining us, talking NBA. And we want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out to watch us, as always, here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Powered up by Belly Up Sports, the Belly Up Network of podcasts. Check out bellyupsports.com to see that lineup that we have. Great shows throughout the week, every week here on the network. And, of course, check out our website for all the latest articles. The guys and gals do a tremendous job here on bellyupsports.com, and it's getting better and better every week. Hey, we got a huge show on Wednesday. If you're a pro wrestling fan, I invite you to check us out Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock as Sean Oliver is going to join us. We had a chance to sit down and talk to him last Friday. You check out his podcast he does on YouTube, the Click This Podcast with Kevin Nash. And he's wrote a lot of books. He's written books on the wrestling business. He's got a new one coming out, Todd is God. We'll talk a little about that. We look back on the career of the Iron Sheik. Just a great interview, a lot of great insight. Good. And if you get a chance, watch that. It's coming up Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. As we're going to spend a little more time on pro wrestling on Wednesdays here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And so if you like pro wrestling, I invite you to tune in Wednesday. It's going to be a great interview. Really looking forward to bringing that to you. That's on the next edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you Wednesday. And this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe, have fun, and keep smiling. Thank you for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on the Captain Lou Sports Network. So long.